full, yes. That we can remove Danny Jordan today, right? But it does not solve the problem, right? Because what has happened in SAFA is that the rot is embedded. So we have to ensure whatever we're going to do is not just about the removal of Danny Jordan, it's the entire system that is SAFA, right? Thank you, Maria.
Got enough recordings here.
Oh, thank you very much, members of my pastor first, Pastor Sahale. Thank you very much from Hope Restoration Ministry. I'm a servant there. Thank you very much for being here. The legends, I see you all. Thank you for gracing this occasion. The leaders of the political parties, thank you very much for that kind of support. Honored guests, members of the media. This is your platform. We called the media to come and express ourselves, for me to come and respond to the letter that I received on the 6th of March. I always say, Pastor, we serve a very faithful God. And he does his things his own way. You know, right now we want things to happen our own way, but God says to us, be still and know that I'm God. That's why I decided when I got the letter, I got a lot of media calling me, we want you in the studio, and my God said, no, be still. Know that I'm God. And I said my legal team will be able to address the issues. And I left it there. And I said at the right time, I'll call the media and respond. And that is why we are here. And I'm saying one of the things that I think God responded was to send the hawks to SAFA. And when somebody sent me a picture and say, do you know that the hawks? I said, oh no, it's my God is answering. My God is answering, and that's how God operates. And you know why? The hawks raided SAFA for nothing. Because SAFA, they did nothing. And that's how God makes the hawks to go and raid them because they've done nothing wrong. That's what they say. And if indeed there is nothing wrong that SAFA has done, why then say you are taking the hawks, you are going to get an agent application to stop the hawks to do their work? If you did nothing wrong, why would you waste football money? If I can tell you how much money has been utilized by SAFA for legal purposes, you will all collapse. It's more than the sponsor they get. But I'm not going to explain that, it will come at some point. But I'm here to say that on the 8th, it was the Hawks. And yesterday, at about SAFA operation, it's from 8 o'clock to 17 hours. That's the office hour of SAFA. But at 20 hour to be specific, 20 hour, 20 minutes, I'm on my phone, I see an email from SAFA. And I go through it, I see the email is written to me, but they are responding to a letter that was written by my legal representative, but they're sending it directly to me. The first thing, before I even read the letter, when I saw SAFA, I said, oh my God, they are stopping my press conference tomorrow. That's what I thought. I thought they are writing to me, you can't have this press conference, otherwise we are going to ban you again. You know, we're going to declare you again persona non grata. But I read the letter, and then I called my legal team. I said, did you see the letter? And he said, what letter are you talking about? I said, okay, let me send you the letter. And I sent that letter. But I want to say to the media today and the South Africans, this is a demonstration of an organization that has collapsed completely. They don't know what they are doing. I don't even believe that this decision for persona non grata was taken by the NEC. I don't believe that. It's your responsibility, media. Ask them for the notice of that meeting. Ask them where was that meeting held to declare me persona non grata. I can guarantee you there will be no such. So I don't believe that there was any meeting of that. But let me take you through the letter. This letter of the 6th. It says you have brought the organization into a disrepute. That's what the letter says. And I'm my God, what did I do? I challenge, as Luruma has indicated, I have a dispute that they cannot, that dispute will remain whether they like it or not. And I always say there are 3 sides of the story. It's their story, it's my story, and it's the truth. And one day the truth will set us all free. And I'm saying to myself, what dispute? Let's look at history. If the president of an organization has got an allegation of rape upon his head, and this poor woman from Midingen, Kobulowedu, it's raising very important issue about the constitution of the organization and say, but we can't do this, we have to do it according to the constitution. Who between the two, this poor woman who's challenging non-governance, and the president of a federation who's having, we don't know where that case is. And maybe the law enforcement must help us and tell us what happened to that allegation. So I'm saying, between this poor woman and that president, who must be declared persona non grata? Who? I'm standing here, I'm saying I've served football for decades. To be specific, from 1988, that's when I started to serve football. Not to benefit from football, to serve with my own family money. That I was taking young boys from the street. For the first time in the history of Limpopo, the boys under 10 and 12 are in the national. They see themselves in a hotel for the first time in their lives. Under 19, under 21. I was even almost killed in Toyando Stadium for going to watch a game. And when the referee did what he did, and I was accused, or probably I paid that referee, almost lost my life in that. And now I must be declared a persona non grata when I've contributed so much into this football with my own money. I'm still poor, very poor. I have not regained any of my money that I have spent to make football what it is today. But certain individuals, because I don't believe the NEC ever took that decision. I don't believe that. I know that's how SAFA operates. One person tells, one NEC was saying there, no, the president would call one person and say, look, the majority of the NEC are saying we must declare Ledwaba persona non grata. Meanwhile, is the first person he's talking to. And then that person said, oh no, if the majority says so, then the president, I support majority. Unfortunately, I hear Lubuti talking about we must hold the national executive accountable. and which he's right. But I can tell you, South Africans, those NEC men, we have great men. He has said lawyers, teachers, principals, and all. We've got great men and women in there. But why are they not speaking? They're afraid to be where I am. They're afraid to raise their voice because they know the moment they raise their voice, they are out. How is it even imaginable that the president of the organization from 2013, he has new vice president all the time? I can count all the vice presidents. Gay Mukwena sitting here was the vice president, very close to the president. You will see them taking pictures in Ivory Coast, and I'm the vice president. I don't know why they are there, but that's how that organization operates. And I will continue to say that organization, as long as we don't have capable and responsible people that will stand up and say enough is enough, and say we cannot operate without a constitution. I know the rules, and I think Danny knows very well that I know the constitution of SAFA. I can tell you what is in article what and what while I'm sleeping. I know that. I know that constitution because I read. And I know a lot of people don't read. I read that constitution. It's very clear. You media, go and look at article 58. Just go and check that article only, what it says, and check it against the decision of the judge. And we're simply saying, Judge, look at article 58. It says an individual, an associate member, a special member, and an individual, which is me, an individual may refer your matter to arbitration. May, it's your choice. But the judge says may means SAFA is not compulsory. You go to the dictionary, that's what the judge says. He says may means it is not compulsory for SAFA to refer the matter. But the article doesn't say SAFA refers the matter. It says special member, individual, an associate member may refer, which is me, I'm referring. SAFA does not refer the matter. What they do, they set up the arbitration, and the arbitrator must then look at my case and say, Leruma, no ways, I'm not taking this matter. End of story. No money would have been used by SAFA for football to go and defend the defenseless. No money would have been used by my family, because I'm paying these lawyers. I'm paying them personally. I'm not using SAFA money. So we can never continue to use the football money. That must be used, as Woody has said, for development of football in this country, for those clubs, poor clubs, that will register every year with nothing. They register, they get nothing. They play every year, they register, there's nothing. Meaning they are actually sponsoring the federation. Because and then they call Ria Ledwaba Foundation for soccer balls. And I say, but you are registered in there, are you not even given one soccer ball and one practice ball, so that at least you have ball? You can't play football without a ball. So, members of the media, Booty has said a mouthful. You are not asking, maybe you ask and then you leave it at there. There are many questions that I believe you do not ask. When a matter is brought before you, you simply take it as you are told. Like Sia is saying, that report that is going to go to CAF, we want to see that report, what that report is saying. Because we know that the facts that we are putting on the table, they are evidence. We're not just waking up and dreaming that we want to remove Denny Jordan from office. It has never been my my vision to remove anyone from SAFA. It has never been my brief to my lawyer that we are challenging the election. Nothing of that sort.
Can we change this quickly? So this one. There you go.
There is nothing that will stop me. Whether I am not a member, as they say, you become a member of SAFA for 8 years, become a vice president of the organization. After the election, you are no more a member. There's something wrong with our constitution. Something is wrong with our constitution. Unless if this person who wants to remain life president doesn't want other people to be there. But I will not be silenced. I am going to stand up, because I'm not standing up for Ria Ledwaba. I'm standing up for football. The fight that Boposhia they are fighting for, the legends are fighting for, it should not stop with me. And they should not fight the same fight that I'm fighting. At the funeral of Simpiwe Mukonza was my son, because he played for Ria Stars. I knew him. I didn't go to the funeral to glorify myself. I went there because he lived where I lived. He was part of my team. And I said to the legends, and I'm going to say that again, Doctor, the legends of this country have got the power to change the status quo in SAFA.
Yeah.
But we can only do that when you are united. This thing of you not being united, divided, being called, doctor, you are called to the office, and then, no, doctor, tell me what position do you want, which national team do you want to coach, must stop. And the legends must be able to say, we are not going to be called by anybody in the office when the legends are out there and there's nothing for them. There's school sports. School sports, nothing happening in school sports. And I continue to say, it's only the legends. And I hope the minister is listening. It's only the legends that can take school sports to the level that we want. Only. Only you, doctor. If you are not going to stand up and be counted, you will remain where you are, you will remain complaining every time. The other people that are important in our soccer is the legend, the supporters. Supporters, you don't know the power you have.
Yeah.
You have so much power that you can stop the rot. You can actually stop this rot. Just the supporters only. And I know when the supporter stands, when the legend stands, the whole South Africa will stand up.
Oh, yeah.
They will stand up and support that. Because I don't want people to think that I'm fighting to be the president of SAFA. I could have done a lot of things. I could have done a lot of changes. It didn't happen. God put you somewhere because there is a purpose for that. So the fact that I wasn't there, it's okay. Despite that, I was never given an opportunity to talk to the members. So today, I want you to leave this place knowing for sure that South African Football Association is one team. They don't know what they are doing. They're running an organization that is loved by the South Africans, but they wake up every morning and do the unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. What they do, it's unbelievable. And basically because the leader there tells them what to do. They can go where they want to go and say, when I saw on Saturday they had meeting, NEC meeting, and then the statement comes out, we had a very successful meeting and the members were raising their opinion. I said, but that's what should happen every time. Why should it be specific this time around that the members were raising, without actually telling us what were those opinions that members were raising in that NEC? I know for certain there's a letter also from a former vice president of SAFA, dining letter. And guess what? Then there's a meeting and the agenda, it's him. And I knew he was going to be fired, either suspended or something, but I hear it was not attended. The reasoning was that no, we don't have more information, we're still investigating, and then we'll call another meeting. I mean, calling executive members to a meeting from 9 provinces to come and discuss a letter that talks to the abuse of power by Danny Jordan. And then he calls a meeting. Gay will tell you, in that meeting where Gay wrote a report, Gay asked him, can President, this is about you, can you recuse yourself? He refused. Said, no, I'm not going to recuse yourself. So, in conclusion, I'm going to say, South African Football Association has got 2 reports. Now 3, with the one that comes from White. Dennis Mumble report, that has, I think it's 71 pages if I'm not mistaken, with evidence. Gay report is there, now it's a White letter. And I'm going to say this in my conclusion. As long as the matters that are raised in those reports are not attended to, 10 years to come, we'll still be standing here talking about the same thing. And I can say to SAFA, if they are listening, wherever they are, you will not be able to silence me, and the issues that I raise will remain a thorn for an organization. And I'm calling on FIFA. I saw Kev wrote a letter, but I'm calling on FIFA. I'm saying to FIFA, you have done it in many federations where there's that's where FIFA comes in, where there is mismanagement of funds, where there is no governance in a federation. They come and establish what they call normalization, meaning they normalize the federation, and the federation must be able to have check and balances to be able to, and they've done it to many federations in the world. So I'm calling upon them to do exactly, and let's save our football. Thank you.
Wow.
We filed an appeal notice, we paid our appeal fee, and we received a set-down notice for the appeal to be heard. On the morning of the appeal, the appeal board members were there, led by, I think, Chairman Trikamji from KZN. That morning, the appeal was withdrawn. It could not be heard. We weren't informed why there's no appeal hearing. It was just withdrawn. This happened on October 31st, 2022. Until this very day, the appeal hearing has still not been scheduled. It is so bad. The chairman of the appeal board called me and asked me, have you guys withdrawn your appeal? I said, no, Chairman. We're waiting for the hearing to take place. This past month, I wrote at least 3 or 4 letters to SAFA inquiring about the appeal hearing and inquiring whether I must go to court to compel them to convene a hearing. So those are the kinds of things that's currently relevant and evident in SAFA. And that's why I made the comment that the system is completely broken. The last point I want to make is that the whole SAFA system of internal disputes internal channels and avenues available to its members. It's all clear. It's there in the statutes, in the policies, in the documentation, in the code, and so forth. For example, it provides for an ethics committee. So a member can file a complaint with the ethics committee. And what SAFA does, they appoint very reputable people on these committees. I think the current committee is led by a retired judge, somebody who we have high respect for. I don't think that committee met once in 2 or 3 years. Not once. Same with the other structures within SAFA. They simply do not comply with their own constitution. They don't comply with their own policies and their own regulations. So that's the kind of challenge that we have, and members have of SAFA, when it comes to raising a dispute, and when you have a difference, with particular leadership at SAFA level. Director, that's what I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Program Director. The program says I'm Advocate Leslie Sidibe. Before I get investigated again, I'm not an advocate. I was an advocate at some point, and I had my name removed voluntarily, and I registered as an attorney. It's such a pleasure for me to be here and to see most of the friends in the media. Some of the guys I haven't seen in many years. It's good to see you. It's a privilege for me to stand before you and to address the people of South Africa on the issues that bedevil the National Association, and in particular to show my support to our sister Ria Ledwaba. I think it was sometime last week, a comment was made on one of the radio programs, and a comment was made by Mr. Venon Simo about SAFA being a broken organization. Why are we here? And the program director, I promise you that I'll be at my best behavior. We're here because on or about the 6th of March 2024, a letter was authored by the CEO of SAFA, addressed to Ria Ledwaba. And this letter in substance says the following. It makes reference to a judgment of the High Court, Pretoria High Court, which handed down a decision on the 9th of February, and that decision was against an application that was brought by Ms. Ria Ledwaba. As part of the letter, and I quote, the learned judge further found that the elections were not flawed. Just by way of background, the part of the application, and my colleague Ms. Lerumo Tebejani will delve into the details of that particular application, so I'm not going to address that. He will deal with that. So the letter from SAFA says that the learned judge found that the elections were not flawed, and you, having realized that your case was rather weak, raised disputes of fact which were vague, unsubstantiated, and indeed stillborn, and rejected. Further down it says, of importance is the finding of the court that you are not a member of SAFA. Now, that's quite a very important point, because this letter makes a determination that Ms. Ria Ledwaba is not a member of SAFA. I have a small question to ask. Which SAFA structure Denny Jordan belongs to? But that's an issue we'll deal with later. Then the letter goes on to say, after careful consideration and thorough review of recent events, the SAFA National Executive Committee has decided that you are to be declared persona non grata within our organization. So, that is the letter in substance. Now, when this decision was taken by SAFA, Ms. Ria Ledwaba will tell you that the people who took that decision against her, they were biased, or at least there's a reasonable suspicion of bias, that in taking the decision it was procedurally unfair to do so, that the decision was taken because relevant considerations were not considered, and that the decision was taken in bad faith and motivated by an ulterior motive. And the ulterior motive here is that anyone who speaks out against any wrongdoing within SAFA, somehow something gets to be engineered and they get to be expelled or banned. And so those of you who are banned, welcome. Some of us know about it. Welcome to the club. It will further be contended by Ms. Ria Ledwaba that SAFA failed to comply with its own rules. But most importantly, Ms. Ria Ledwaba was not provided with an opportunity to present her case. And this is in violation of a doctrine in law called the audi alteram partem rule. What does that mean in simple English? The doctrine of audi alteram partem rule contemplates that any action taken against an individual should be done in a manner that respects the right of such an individual to do the following. Number one, anyone has a right to face their accuser. Number two, anyone who's accused has a right to consider the evidence against them. They have a right to rebut the evidence that is presented against them. They have a right to lead counter evidence. And they also have a right to cross-examine their accusers. They also have a right to call witnesses to corroborate their version of events and to be given sufficient time to prepare. Now, we will tell you that in taking this decision, which was communicated to Ms. Ria Ledwaba on the 6th of March, her rights under the audi alteram partem rule were violated. Now, as we are preparing for today, last night we received a letter from none other than SAFA. And this is the breaking news story. And this is mainly for the media. There is a letter which is dated the 19th of March 2024. It's addressed to Ria Ledwaba. The subject heading is Declaration as a Persona non grata. And it reads as follows. Para 1. We refer to the letter sent to you dated the 6th of March 2024. Para 2. Further reference is given to the judgment of the High Court of South Africa, Gauteng Division, Pretoria, that was delivered by the Honorable Judge Holland Mata on the 9th of February 2024. Para 3. After thorough consultation with our legal team, and in studying the judgment further, we noted that the Honorable Judge held that inter alia, at paras 17, 21, 22, and 29 of the judgment, you are no longer a member of SAFA, nor do you hold a position within the structures of SAFA, and as such, have no locus standi to invoke the SAFA statute. I'll skip para 4 and go to para 5 directly. Paragraph 5 states, based on the above, and by virtue of the fact that you are nowhere within the structures of SAFA with no locus standi, and as such we have no jurisdiction over you, we regret having sent you the letter dated the 6th of March, which is hereby withdrawn. Well, ordinarily you would clap and celebrate that. Exactly. But this is actually, it just shows how tragic and how desperate the situation is within our football. That the center is not holding. That we have a national association that is in absolute chaos. Now, we have this conundrum because of the quagmire of the lack of leadership within the institution itself. How do you wake up 13 days later to suddenly realize that the very same person that you have declared a persona non grata under circumstances where you violated their rights? I mean, in diplomatic terms, declaring somebody a persona non grata is not an easy matter. Exactly. It's actually very demeaning. So for whatever reason, the mandarins at SAFA House realized, and having consulted with their lawyers, that, oh no, we made a boo-boo here. Ria Ledwaba is not our member, and therefore we have no jurisdiction over her. But that's part of the story, because there's another letter. This letter is dated the 8th of July, 2021, and it's addressed to the attorneys representing Lucas Nhlapo. In that letter, and I'll just quote this one paragraph, it says, what remains is that the notice of expulsion is of no force and effect due to the fact that your client is not a member of SAFA. So, Lucas Nhlapo was expelled from SAFA. Suddenly people realized that, oops, we made a boo-boo. He's not a member of SAFA, therefore we have no jurisdiction. The question then becomes, does the left at SAFA House really know what the right is doing? Again, a similar letter, this one is dated the 11th of May 2021, and this letter relates to the expulsion of Abel Rakoma. Once again, SAFA made a determination that Mr. Rakoma is no longer their member, but they proceeded to expel him, and having expelled him, they then capitulated and said, oops, sorry, you are not our member, therefore the expulsion doesn't hold. So this is where we are today. We are being told that SAFA has, they've withdrawn this letter of the 6th of March where they declared Ms. Ria Ledwaba as a persona non grata. And that, but what is lacking in this letter from SAFA is that there is no apology. Mr. Danny Jordan, I'm not going to call him doctor. Danny boy, we demand an apology. You must unreservedly apologize to Ms. Ria Ledwaba. And you must explain to the people of South Africa why you took such an irresponsible decision to declare Ms. Ria Ledwaba, together with members of the NEC. So what is to be done? Well, in this country there is a rule of law. We do have a constitution. There are certain provisions of the constitution that create an environment and enabling legislation to deal with administrative decisions such as this. And that legislation is called the Promotion of Access to Justice Act number 3 of 2000, hereafter referred to as PAJA. Now before we invoke the provisions of PAJA, it's obviously going to be very important that we exhaust internal remedies, and this is something that Mr. Vernon Simo will deal with. It is settled law in this country that regulations by organizations such as SAFA and FIFA qualify as administrative action under PAJA insofar as they discharge a public function and in the public interest. Alternatively, to the extent that it may be found that PAJA does not apply in this instance, and that's if, to the extent that we don't get the apology that we expect, or Ms. Ria Ledwaba, it's not even to me, it's to Ms. Ria Ledwaba and to the people of South Africa. To the extent that it is found that PAJA does not apply, we will argue in the alternative that this is in violation of the principle of legality. And so I'm going to invite onto the podium my colleague, Mr. Lurumo Tebejani, who will deal with the aspect of the appeal. When a matter is before the court, everybody knows of this sub judice principle. Ms. Ria Ledwaba's case sits before the court, there is an appeal, and what it basically means is that for as long as the matter is on appeal, it suspends the operation of that order. And so it is therefore out of order for SAFA to rely on an order that is being appealed. And Mr. Tobejani will get into the details of that appeal and the grounds of appeal. So lawyers do not reserve their best criticism at press conferences. They do so in their court papers, and I think Mr. Tobejani will do so. After Mr. Tobejani, the next voice you will hear is from...
Taking over from the program director.
I'm assisting. We will hear from Mr. Vernon Simo, and then I'll come back to wrap up in terms of the future, the next steps. I thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
So you've heard, you've been called, but before Mr. Simon, Mr. Chobetan comes up, CR97XP is a BMW. I've been asked to move. Apparently, someone wants to move. Can you do that? CR97XP BMW. I hope Leslie was able to distill the argument. What is interesting for me is the second letter that has been sent. It makes a mockery of our legal system, right? That you have this person that you decide to declare persona non grata, put her in the public domain as someone that is not good for SAFA, and turn around and say, by the way, in fact, we made a boo-boo. She's not, we had no jurisdiction over her. But you've already painted her as a bad person that should be removed from SAFA. So for me, it's a travesty of justice, and that is the issue that must be dealt with. You can't think that you can address your ineptitude through letters in the manner that you have done, right? So SAFA must be challenged for being ineptitude, just total disregard and the disdain and the contempt that they've shown towards you, Mary, and that they can do it to many others. So, with that being said, can we have Mr. Lurubo Tebejani just to give the overview of the case? We understand you are appealing, right? You're not going to share the secrets of the appeal, but over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Madam Program Director, members of the media, members of the football fraternity, lawyers in attendance, Muruti, ex-members of NEC, political parties represented. My name is Leruma Tovejani. I'm glad somebody could pronounce my name as Lerumo. But I'm not going to be long here. I just want to address two issues. The first issue is the misunderstanding of the purpose of the application serving in the High Court in Pretoria. I've tried to explain this as many times as possible, but nobody seems to understand the purpose of that application. I want to take you a step backward before the elections. We disputed the constitutionality of the amendment of the statutes, and we said until such time that that issue is resolved, you cannot proceed to have an election. We approached court on an agent basis. A matter was struck from the roll for lack of agency, and we were told you can address that after the elections. The purpose of that application is twofold. The first one is that you have amended your statutes. Your statutes create certain committees, some of which will be responsible for monitoring or organizing or running those elections. But the appointment of those committees is unconstitutional. You didn't follow the same constitution that you purported to have used in the appointment of those committees. That was the first dispute. It has nothing to do with the flawed elections. It has nothing to do with stolen elections. We never accused anyone of stealing elections. But the second one is the following. If we declare a dispute, you are duty bound in terms of the same statutes to refer that dispute to an arbitral tribunal. You have no election, you have no discretion, you have no choice to tell us that we're not going to refer this dispute to arbitration because we believe you are no longer a member because the elections happened and you lost the elections. We approach court as a final result, meaning we have exhausted all internal remedies. You're refusing to give us a platform where we can be heard on arbitration. The dispute still exists. It has not been resolved. We approach court, and in court, there are only two issues that have to be determined. One, are we entitled to refer a dispute to SAFA in terms of the statutes? Two, that's the one. If we're entitled, the second one is the following. Is SAFA obligated to constitute an independent arbitral tribunal to advocate on the matter. That's the end of the story. Now I have a judgment that says we don't want to recognize the outcome of an election, we were well defeated, we are bad losers. I don't know where that comes from, because the case that we brought before court is different from the ruling that we got. And hence we appealed. The appeal has two effects. One, the first effect is to suspend the order. The second one is that the case is still continuing. So if you have an order that is suspended and the matter is still proceeding, you cannot execute on that order until such time that you have approached the same court to say, court, I've realized that the applicant, having lost this case, has applied for leave to appeal, but I believe that a poor case, to an extent that I'm entitled to execute this order pending the appeal, which is something that has not been done. All letters that I issued on the basis of reference to a judgment, I don't know how to say I disagree. I'm saying those letters were bad in law, because it seems like people are trying to rely on that judgment to then become personal and persecute Maria. I'm not litigating to persecute anyone. I'm saying, for as long as you have not addressed the dispute, even if this matter is not finalized before the coming elections, you still have a problem with the same elections that you're going to have. Because the issue of legality of those committees that we dispute in their legality will still persist. It won't have been resolved. And you can run, but you cannot defeat the problem. The last issue that I want to address with members of the media is that Ria Ledwaba is not fighting anyone at SAFA. I've never seen in the papers that I have drafted where we say we're fighting this person must be removed from SAFA, whatever. That's not our application. Our application is very clear. It says, if there's no compliance with the statutes, then the elections cannot be free and proper, and the legality of those elections will be questioned. We're not worried about who got how many votes at the elections. That's not an issue. We're saying the eligibility of the candidates to participate in that elective congress, in terms of the same statutes that you have passed on the 26th of March, needs to be interrogated. That may exclude Maria, may exclude many candidates. We're not saying she'll remain. We're saying, but follow the same statutes that we have approved and adopted. Let's test whether all these candidates that are now competing or contesting the elections have met the eligibility muster. The last issue is that if you're not going to give us a platform to be heard internally, we're going to go to court, and the court, like I think Mr. Sidibe has already said, where you make a decision which is an administrative decision, you can take it on review to court. But we say to court, please force SAFA to constitute that arbitral tribunal. We're not saying we're going to win arbitration. We say bring senior counsels, let them be appointed as arbitrators. They must listen to the dispute, decide in favor of SAFA or in favor of the requester. I don't want to belabor the point, and I don't want to waste time because we started very late. But that's the gist of the application that is sitting before court. And it is very unfortunate. I don't know how to express this unfortunate event, that a person who's trying to not fight for her own personal interest, because to make sure that SAFA complies with its own statute will never benefit Ria Ledwaba in any way. But she's using her own hard-earned cash to fight this principle for the sake of football, not for her sake. She has been in football. She I think did what she was supposed to do in football. Now she wants to hand this legacy to the rest of us that are coming behind. That's my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dr. Tobejane. I hope it's clear. Although I know it's a lot to take in, and just understanding the process, and I'm hoping that Mayor Ledwaba will address why she's doing this, because it's important. Once you have a constitution as an association and you have rules, those rules must be observed. It cannot be applied willy-nilly, depending on whether you like my face or you don't, right? You have to be consistent in applying the rules and your own governing statutes. And that's the point that I think is being made in her application, that you have failed to honor your own procedures and processes, and we are challenging that because it's got ramifications and implications if you do so. We always hear about, before you go outside, you must exhaust the internal remedies. What are those internal remedies that Ria Ledwaba has or had? And I think she still has those internal remedies, but someone is going to shed some light on what those are, and is Mr. Simo to do so. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Program Director, or Protocol observed. My name is Vernon Simo. I'm an attorney. I also was a former NEC member, and for a period of 8 years, I was the chairman of SAFA's legal committee. So I know the system very well. In fact, many of the current statutes that are there, policies, programs, regulations, I either drafted them or as part and parcel of them being drafted. I want to add one or two things that Leslie mentioned about breaking news. The new letter that came last night. Now, this letter was preceded by a letter I wrote after the 6th of March letter, wherein I pointed out the factors that Leslie mentioned, the issue of the appeal, the defamatory comments, and so forth. And we demanded within 7 days they must withdraw the 6th March letter, failing which my client will consider options. On Monday evening, I received an email from SAFA to say, thank you for your letter. We are busy taking the matter under advisement, and we will consult with our legal team and come back to you. And that's it. And last night, I received a call from Ria Ledwaba to say that, have you seen the letter? I said, what letter? No, they sent me a letter. I said, oh, they sent it to you and not to me.
Exactly.
Now, there are 2 points over here on this issue. Firstly, they were avoiding to respond to the issues raised in my letter, because it was specific around things like, why are you dealing with a matter which is under appeal and could be reversed eventually? And so therefore, you should have, waited for the matter to be finalized, the appeal matter. And secondly, in my humble view, it's also a reflection on SAFA's lack of professionalism. They have lawyers, they have a big law firm that they work with, they know what they have to do. And I'm certain that lawyers will advise them properly. Yeah. I'm certain about that. But they chose to avoid the lawyers. That's my suspicion. Now, internal remedies. I don't want to talk too much about what we intend to do in Ria's case. But I can tell you, and
as Ria, colleagues and members of the media, thank you very much. It's a great honor to be here. I actually woke up very early this morning because I'm from Mpumalanga and drove through, and I was all wired up about the fact that Ria has been banned, and only to find when I come here, the matter has been lifted. It's a joke. Yeah. My name, as the program director said, is Gay Mukwena. I was a member of the NEC between 2013 and 2020. And during that time, I was the chairman of the finance committee. And I know a lot about the finances, but I'm not going to talk about the finances today. I will talk about how the system broke, or how the system deteriorated. In my experience, I think we started very well in late 2013, and we had 2014. And in 2015, we had a Congress. Incidentally, the Congress was on the 29th of March 2015, about 9 years ago. Today is the 20th of March. And in that Congress, we took some very progressive decisions, a number of them. And it actually saddened me to look at those resolutions that we took at the Congress to what is happening at SAFA today. Now, there's two resolutions that we took that I want to talk about. It was Resolution 20, and this resolution resolved that, the Congress resolved that the NEC of SAFA should be reduced to 20 members. You remember that, actually? That was the one resolution. The second resolution was the fact that because of the problems that always come with new leadership when we go to the World Cup, we all have to try and hold elections just after the World Cup. So we took a resolution that we are not going to hold elections in 2017, which was the due year, but we're going to have the elections in 2020, in 2018, after the Russia World Cup. This resolution was applauded by all, from the PSL to special members to regions, to say we have found a solution to solve this problem of changing coaches 1 year before we go to the World Cup. Guess what happens? So we don't make it for 2018 in Russia, to qualify there. Then my colleagues start saying, we must now talk about elections. So some of us say, no, but we can't do that. We have not even had one elections as per our resolutions of 2015. How do you now go to elections? No, it's because even the politicians do that. When it's good time to go elections, you go for elections. He said, no, but we have a constitution that is guiding us. And in my experience, that's when SAFA, when the system started breaking apart. Because then came Ace Ngcobo, if you remember, he objected vigorously, and eventually he lost. We hold the elections in May 2018, well before Russia. That is the first incident. The second incident is now 2022. Okay, the elections were in 2018. Let's have the elections after Qatar in terms of the 2015 resolution. No, the elections happened even before year end. Now, you know year end, every institution has got a year. The year in SAFA is July to June. That's it. So the constitution of SAFA says the AGM shall be held within 6 months after. So before end of December, it must be there. When did the election took place? I think the 20th of June or something. Before the end of the year. Now you tell me, in that AGM you need to have a financial report, you need to have the president's report or the CEO's report. How do you do that before even your year ends? This is how the system has been collapsed. So it has now grown to the point where we are today. Ria is banned. By who? Which structure of SAFA took that decision? Remember, the president of FIFA, Sepp Blatter, and the secretary, Joran Falk, they were banned, I think, but they were also banned for a certain period. They were banned for six years, 8 months or something like that. But they were banned by the ethics committee. Now the executive goes to the ethics committee to complain about these members who are not behaving or whatever the case is. And by the way, Jerome Falke was banned for, among others, using FIFA money for his legal personal issues, which we have seen at the SAFA house not so long ago. Yeah. So who should be banned here? Is it Ria or some people down at SAFA house? Yeah. It's a good question. I think I'm going to close by saying, by the way, I'm also one of the people who lodged a complaint, and I've paid my money for arbitration and so on since 2021, and I'm worried my money is going to prescribe now. But I'm going to do something about it since I've got lots of legal friends here to get my money back. It's sitting there, nobody's talking to me, no nothing. So where we are, as far as I'm concerned, the SAFA has to start afresh. That constitution has been manipulated year in, year out, to the point where probably no one knows what that constitution says. So, Azria, I want to thank you for standing up, and for standing up for me, actually, when I did that report, that Mukwena report, which I reported to the NEC. That I want to close by reading you how, as Pute was talking, how the NEC responds to issues when it is brought to their attention. Now, I'm the acting CEO of SAFA, and by line I report via the president to the NEC. And, sorry, I'm just getting, and the NEC are my bosses. I implement all what is. So I tell them through that report, listen guys, there's a big problem here because there are no rules. Today, my president says this, tomorrow this, and he's taking decisions alone, etc., etc. This is the most polite response I got, and this is what I'm going to. This is the most polite response. It says, this is they're responding to a letter from my lawyers. I received your email, but to my surprise, you addressed it to me for the reasons that I failed to understand. Therefore, my advice to you is address it to the right place, not to me. I'm very disappointed that the law firm cannot even know where it could address its documents. For your own information, I was elected to perform SAFA duties. Do not write or communicate with me anymore. You don't know me, I don't know you, and I'm not even interested to know you. I hope you will find this in order. That's the NEC that is leading football in this country. Thank you very much.